Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Webinar 6. I am Dr. Riza Lorenzana, Chair of the Ako Para sa Bata 2020, and the 12th Ako Para sa Bata is presented by the Child Protection Network Foundation and UNICEF. Our theme this year is Care of the Child Against Violence in the Time of Disease. I will now turn you over to the moderator of today's webinar. She is the Assistant Directress of the Maya Forest Preschool Manila and Maya Abilities Educational Center. May I present to you the moderator of Nature-Based Activities for Children, Miss Sherilyn E. Ong. Over to you, Miss Ong.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. The Ako Para sa Bata community, the attendees logged in on Zoom, and those joining us on Facebook Live, welcome. We are glad that you could join us here today, and this is the 6th webinar of Ako Para sa Bata 2020. As mentioned by Dr. Riza, a total of 23 webinars will be presented by the Child Protection Network Foundation and by UNICEF. Please follow the Ako Para sa Bata social media accounts flashed on screen for updates and other announcements. And if you will post about Ako Para sa Bata webinars, please use the hashtag COVID APSB 2020. So today's webinar is very interesting and very relatable. It's about nature-based activities for children. The objectives for today is to show the importance of nature for children and to demonstrate some nature-based activities. So let's begin. Let me introduce you to our first speaker. She is the owner and directress of Maya Forest Preschool Manila, and she's a level 3 forest trainer of the UK Forest Schools. She attended her training in Hong Kong last year. A licensed teacher and a registered guidance counselor, let us all welcome Ms. Maria Elena Beatriz Legarda Santos, or who we all call Teacher Bea. Teacher Bea.
So thank you, Teacher Chef, for that introduction, and hello everybody listening today on Zoom and on Facebook Live. So today I'll be talking to you about nature and its importance, especially at the time of a pandemic. I hope after listening to this, you give importance also and see the value of the outdoors for our children's development. Okay, so today I will briefly discuss the following so that we have time for the nature demonstration activities, which I'm so excited for all of you to see. And whether you're a parent or not, a teacher, a social worker, a tita, tito, these are all things you can do with your children at home, with your students, with your clients. And I'm really excited to share all of that with you today. So first, we're going to discuss what is outdoor play. So outdoor free play is the spontaneous play that comes naturally from children's natural curiosity, love of discovery, and enthusiasm. Meaning, ilabas nyo lang yung bata, just let them outside and they will do as they please. You don't have to initiate any game. Kayang-kaya na po ng mga bata maglaro outdoors. And children really learn best when all of their senses are involved. They are engaged. It's self-initiated, hands-on exploration of the world around them. Now, what are the benefits of outdoor play? So first is, it improves physical development. You know, when we're inside the house, nakaupo lang po yung mga bata watching TV or sitting on the floor playing. So when they're outdoors, they can climb, they can go fast, they can run, they can avoid obstacles, they can jump, and they can do all these things which they aren't really able to do at home. Another benefit is it improves social competence. So there is cooperation, leading, following, speaking up, sharing ideas, working together, caring for others. They help others climb, they help others to watch out for risks. There is concern for others, responsibility, a sense of place and acceptance in a group. There is negotiating, compromising, sharing, and lots of skills learned outdoors are really helpful well into adulthood. Next is there's increased imagination. So, you know, a stick can be a sword, a wand, a pen. A tree can be a boat, a fort, a volcano. A fallen log can be a lion. All these things allows them to think out of the box and imagine different worlds. And lastly, of course, there's nature appreciation. The care and the concern for nature, for the future of nature, and it really allows children to think beyond themselves. So hindi lang po yung sarili nila iniisip nila. They also think about plants, but also how we can care for the plants so that the future generations can benefit as well. So other benefits of outdoor play is as follows. Our students are shown to have better performance in school. They're more focused, they're happier, they're not feeling confined, so they can sit still. They get sunshine. Vitamin D is very important, of course. They're not staring at screens all day. They don't have that blue light too much, so they can sleep better at night. They can focus on details, improve concentration. They can hear the wind, the rustling of the leaves. They can focus on the small insects, and generally, they have a happier disposition. So there's less stress for children and for adults even outdoors. So the onset of TV has really been the culprit in the interference of outdoor play for our children. The TV now also brings the bad news that it is safer for our children indoors than it is for them outdoors. So ang mga parents, mas gusto nila na nakikita nila yung mga bata sitting down and watching TV. Alam nila kung nasaan sila, what they're doing, instead of outdoors, when all these wild imaginations for us parents that we think is happening to our children outside, even if nasa garage lang with a gate. So we now believe that it is safer for children indoors, and so we let the TV keep them company inside. If watching TV or playing on a gadget was a part-time job, children would definitely be employed. Now, the only difference is, hindi po sila binabayaran at wala po silang nakukuhang skill watching TV or on a gadget. Now, more so that we're on online classes, I'm sure this has doubled. That means our children are full-time on gadgets, full working hours, 40 hours a week. Now, as adults, pag tayo, when we're on Zoom the whole day or on screens the whole day, even face-to-face meetings the whole day, we're anxious, we're stressed, we're tired, and we just want to lie down, we cannot deal. So what more for a child who is not developmentally ready to take on all these stresses, to take on that anxiety? They're definitely not ready for that. So why outdoor play? Well, in outdoor play, during outdoor play, we learn about the world. Okay. So outdoor play gives us knowledge. We ask questions, it sparks our curiosity. We defend our ideas, we have to problem solve. Another thing is we learn about ourselves and ourselves in relation to the environment. So how brave am I? What am I capable of? What am I comfortable doing? How much do I trust my classmates? How much do I trust myself? How much do I know about the outside world, about others? How much am I willing to share? Am I a leader? Am I a follower? So there are so many things we can learn about ourselves when we're outside. Outdoor play also encourages different kinds of play. So you can create and construct risky play, role play, active play, solitary play, parallel play, cooperative play, games with the rules that you have to learn and follow and understand. You have to think of others, or games where you make up rules as you go. Next is there is risk taking, and this is something that we don't let our children do so much nowadays. So risk taking gives children a sense of adventure and confidence. They're not doing anything dangerous per se. It just feels like they are. So they become more confident in their abilities to avoid risks and to trust their limits, create boundaries for themselves. When children know their limits, they know how far to push themselves and believe in their abilities, that they can do great things. So when they're risk takers, when they're younger, this is something that can translate when they're older, when they're looking for jobs or trying to pave their way to their own success. Lastly, the surplus energy theory, and I'm sure this is just a theory, but I'm sure a lot of you as teachers or as adults feel this and see this also in children. So this is energy that needs to be expelled. Alam niyo yung mga batang medyo magulo na sa upuan, di na nakaka-concentrate, di na nakaka-upo, they're fidgeting, they're moving. Even as adults, we feel this. So this is somewhere, outdoors is somewhere a child can expel that energy so that they can go back in and focus on the task at hand. Now, nowadays, our culture is really taking outdoor play away from children. Parents are scared of their children getting hurt. Parents don't even like their children sweating. At times, it's also time away from homework. And in return, ang mga schools, we are scared to upset parents. And so we follow that. We limit the children's movements in schools as well. Schools are worried of parents complaining or test scores and students' rankings, school rankings. And we feel that if we give our children more recess time or lunch time, then it will take away valuable time that they could spend inside the classroom memorizing and studying. So these 15 minutes that we take away or 30 minutes that we take away from the children when they play, we feel it's the make or break between a passing and a failing grade. So we have to allow children to be children. We are harder on kids now. We don't let them make the same mistakes. We are harder on them when they fail. We treat them as if they should understand, as if they should be able to get all these things. We treat them like adults and we expect them to be able to do things that they are not yet capable of doing. We give them more advanced work. We make them do more longer and longer classes or longer and longer online classes. We make them do more advanced classes, whether in kumon, in piano, in ballet. So it doesn't matter. We aren't letting children now be children. And lastly, children's lives are more controlled and more contained. Parents and schools, we like to account for every minute of the day of kids. Down to the minute nakaschedule po yan. We don't let them have days, time off. We like to know exactly what they're doing to make sure that every minute is useful and productive. And we feel that if we give children downtime, if we allow them to think, then they think about getting into trouble instead. So how can we have successful outdoor play? Now, we won't be able to completely take out every single perceived danger. So we just take out the most obvious ones. Kung may pako or broken glass, then those things we take out. But if there are things they can climb high, then that is up to the child to climb. We have to trust that they are able to trust their own abilities. So practice the 17-second rule. For example, when a child is climbing or when a child falls, wait po muna tayo. We don't swoop in and rescue. We see their reaction because most often when no one reacts, they stand up, they dust themselves off, and they continue playing. Don't let your own fears get in the way. So fear is learned. And when we tell our children to worry about climbing too high or running too fast, then we put that fear into their mind, fear that wasn't there before. And this goes even, ghosts, failure. So the fear of the children really comes from us adults. And as adults, our role is to provide guidance, provide support. We don't take over their activities. We don't show them what to do. We let the children do what they want and discover and be sparked by their curiosity. So we really get out of the way. We have to provide the time, freedom, and space for good play, and we create a play space with loose parts and materials. So then we're going to discuss now risky play. As previously mentioned, with risky play, children learn their boundaries, how to set their limits, how to trust themselves and those around them, how to feel brave and confident. They also learn many skills like using tools, solving puzzles and problems, building forts, and always thinking about their safety first. So we have to know that children are also, they don't want to fall, they don't want to get hurt. So they're also thinking about that for themselves. And when they learn how to start a fire or climb, then they will learn what are safe practices and what aren't. So we let them play with heights, run fast, play with tools, play near elements, play with a chance of getting lost, and rough and tumble play. So playing rough with each other. So loose parts. Loose parts is really a big part of outdoor play. It isn't much. Kasi kaya niya yung hanapin around the house, sa tabi, anywhere really. Shells, bottle caps, yarn, all of these are considered loose parts. And these are materials that are used in limitless ways. There are so many things that can be made, so many skills that can be tackled, done, created, imagined, targeted through the use of loose parts. These are just some of the things, but there really are, when you just let students or children with loose parts, then there are no limits really of what they can do. So how will children use loose parts? As a resource for knowledge, they can learn length, size, shape, weight, as addition to their imaginative play. As I said, swords, wands, dolls, as parts to their creation for problem solving. So if they would like to make a ramp, for example, or steps, they can get their stones around outside. Academic purposes, to feel nature and to learn about life cycles. So there are so many things that can be tackled through the use of loose parts. And what are our roles as adults? So we have to support and encourage children's play and investigation. So we observe, we screen for safety, of course. Nails are not loose parts. We encourage and we guide. So all we do is, how about you make something that you can use for your dollhouse, or for when you're playing outside with your sibling or your classmate. So all of these things, we do not take over, we let them be. And of course, we just uh, give good positive reinforcement, and we don't correct what they are doing. So how can you make your own loose parts collection? I'm sure we look around the house, you'll find so many things. You can put them all together in a toolbox or mega box or anything for the kids to just keep on going back to. If you would like to teach counting, teacher Karen later will show you all the possible things you can do also with loose parts, should you want to include that in your academic side of your teaching, your parenting, or your work. But also, I noticed that there were a lot of social workers, and in our school, we noticed that those students who have had problems, when we're playing with them with loose parts and outdoors, they're really more relaxed. They talk more, and they're more at ease sharing what they need to share about their problems at home. So this could really help you also with your work. So what is the importance of nature during the pandemic? How has this pandemic affected our children? Our children now have been showing increased anxiety, depression, and there is an increase in teenage suicides the last 7 months. So we really have to ensure that our children's mental health is on the more positive, in a more positive place, bringing them outdoors or letting them play, letting them create things that they can be proud of. It will really help them, especially now when we're all just indoors and we cannot be part of a group, and children want to be part of a group. Lastly is nature deficit disorder. It's a diminished use of senses, attention difficulties, obesity, higher rates of emotional and physical illnesses. But the great thing about is this can still be reversed. So we just encourage our children to be outdoors, to get some sunshine. We provide them the opportunities where they can create things, and then we will see a decline in nature deficit disorder, in anxiety and depression as well. Okay, so just to share with you um, our school, Maya Forest Preschool Manila, and our program. So we developed this program because of the pandemic. We couldn't, of course, have the kids outdoors, but we wanted to bring the outdoors to the children. So, syempre, madami pong batang just in condominiums or in naka-small homes, naka-rooms, boarding houses and all that. So, kahit paano, we wanted them to still have the soil, the rocks, the leaves, and the learning as well. So this is DepEd guided and DepEd accredited school. And we send these kits home to the kids, and they're able to incorporate the nature in their daily academic lesson. So the parents are the ones that guides the activities that we send home. So I think now I'm going to give the room to Teacher Che. She's going to introduce Teacher Karin. So for the most important and the fun part of the talk.
Okay, thank you, Teacher Bea. I think a lot of people watching right now are medyo tinamaan sila dun sa sinabi mong let children be children. We we take so much control now in our children's schedule na medyo na ano sila dun, na hurt sila. Just kidding. Thank you for that. So if you have any questions for Teacher Bea, please feel free to type them in our Q&A portion. And I'd like to say hi to the 1,100 viewers on Facebook. Hello po. Good morning po sa inyong lahat. So let me introduce you to our second speaker. Our second research person is the head teacher of Maya Forest Preschool Manila and the coordinator of the Maya Abilities Educational Center. Here to demonstrate nature activities at home, may I present Ms. Karin Manibo, or who we call Teacher Karin.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Teacher Karin and I am a teacher in the Maya Forest Preschool. So what you see behind me is the forest. So this is the example of what our kids go through every day. So they play here, they dance, they sing, they learn their lessons in the forest. So for today, I will show you what activities we can do at home and how can we use all the natural materials we have around us. So next is, so for today's demo, I am going to show you activities that tap on different skills. So we have here fine motor skills, numeracy skills, literacy skills, STEM activity, I'll try to show it to you later, and arts and crafts. So fine motor skills are very important, especially for kids who are just starting to write. So we encourage them to practice their fingers to soften their muscles by letting them do all the activities through nature. So as you can see, we have here the STEM activities. So for those who don't know what STEM is, it stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So though it seems intimidating for preschool age children, we notice that these experiments really engage the students in learning because they get to see the results after each experiment. So we have here also arts and crafts. So for the materials, we have here, like what Teacher Bea said a while ago, we have all the loose parts. So we're going to use materials such as the soil. We have here the soil. We also have leaves. So these are the leaves. And we also have sticks and twigs. So these are just examples of the loose parts. We also have rocks, different types of rocks. So any rocks will do as long as it is available. And we also have seeds. So this is an example of betel nut seeds. So we have here in the forest. So for the rocks, you can get any rocks you have. But for the leaves, we encourage everyone to please pick those that fell off from the tree already. So para hindi naman kawawa yung plants because we're teaching kids also to appreciate nature. So it's not nice naman to see them picking up the leaves directly from the plants. So also the twigs. So these twigs came from the tree. So nahulog na sila after the rain, strong wind. So this is what we're going to use. So for the materials at home, we can use paper plates. We also have here containers and then tongs. So this is common in every household, tongs and shoelaces. And of course, paper. So these are just some of the materials we're going to use today. So maybe we can start with But first, what I like most in doing natural activities is it allows parents, it allows teachers and the kids to be creative and to think out of the box. So just give them anything, they can make something out of it. And it also costs you less time to focus on the kids because they're busy doing these activities. So I think we can start with the fine motor activities. So here we have a leaf. So we have here shoelaces. So to practice fine motor skills, we can insert the shoelaces on the holes. So it allows children to focus, to practice their fine motor skills by pulling, also inserting into small holes. So if it is hard for the other kids to do this one, you can make a bigger hole or you can get a thicker kind of leaves so it doesn't rip off easily. So it's like this. So just get any shoelaces you have at home or even yarn or any strings. So this is how we do the leaf threading activity. Okay, so for the next fine motor activity, we have here soil. So we just got it from the forest. We dig some soil and then we're going to use our tongs. So it allows our child to practice pincer grip. So it's like this. So you can ask them, you can put other colors, so you can ask them, can you get the orange one? So it is like this. Or practice naming the animals. It depends on the theme that you are going to study for the day for our teachers. And for the parents, you can do this to enhance more on the lesson. Like you can put letters and let your child dig through it like this. So we can see here that there are a lot of materials that you can use and then can help you in all your lessons. So that is for our fine motor activities. Next is we can do numeracy skills. So for numeracy skills, we can lay out a mat and then put on some paper plates. So we can work on comparing sets using the seeds. So you can use the seeds as counters. You can help them in counting one-to-one correspondence like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Or you can put another set of seeds here. So you can make questions like which plate has more seeds or which plate has less seeds. And you can also ask your child to make inferences just by looking at it and not yet counting. They can see what's the difference between more and less. So this is just an example and you can use this as counters. Okay. And we also have another numeracy activity by using our twigs. So we have here our twigs. So what we can do here is comparing length or sizes. So we can arrange them by longest to shortest. So if you can see here, they can arrange it. Which one will come first? Is it longer? And then let them arrange it. So there are a lot of activities we can work with the sticks. Like we can also use rocks and measure how many rocks can fit in one stick. It's also learning about measurements. So without them getting into deeper knowledge into measurements, you can say that 10 rocks can fit, 10 rocks is as long as a stick. So that's how we do math using our natural material. For the literacy, so you can just write letters on the paper. Okay, so then get your rocks, smaller rocks, and then try to trace the letters on the paper using the rocks. So it's just an example of how we practice fine motor skills. This is how we can introduce them into writing the letters just by putting the rocks. We usually do this on the ground where they write on the ground using chalk and then trace it using the rock. So we have here Lexi. She's helping me in doing the activities. You say hi? Hi. Okay, so what we're doing is we're tracing all the letters. That's how we do literacy. And also, for higher level kids, for the kinder level, those who are starting to read, you can start with the CVC words. So just provide them with pictures and the word, and then you can fill it with letters. Like for this one, it is a hat, and the missing letter is letter A. And for the next word, we have the word bug, and just put the letter U there. So we just need to prepare them some pictures. So just lay them in front of them and then get the rocks so they can do the activities. So these are just examples of the literacy. While for the STEM activity, I'll try to show you what kind of experiments our children do in school. Like just get your tub and fill this with water. Go, let's fill this one with water. Okay. So what we're trying to do is to letting the children know which materials do sink and float. Okay. Thank you. So we have here our natural material. So you can put leaves. You can make inferences as to will the leaf float or sink? Is it floating or sinking? It is floating. How about the rock? Can you try? Is the rock floating or sinking? Sinking. It is sinking. How about the twigs? Is it floating or sinking? Floating. That's right. And this one, the seeds. Is it floating or sinking? So you see, they see the difference between sink and float. So that's enough for them. That's a science concept that is enough for their age. And lastly, for the art activity, we can use anything here in the loose parts container. So we can try to make a human out of the rocks, leaves, and sticks. How will you do it? So here we have the leaf. We can use the rock as the head, and you can also break the twigs to make the arms and legs or feet. That's right. So you need more. Okay, so those are just some of the examples you can do at home. Thank you, Lexi. And that's all. Thank you for watching the demonstration, and I hope you can do this at home. So this usually works for any of children with all abilities, especially those with special needs because it's sensorial, it allows them to get dirty. So to us parents, we should allow our kids to get dirty because this is when they learn and this is when they get engaged in all the activities.
Thank you, Teacher Karen. Very nice demonstration. Thank you for your assistant also. I think a lot of parents are getting used to letting kids touch soil kasi isip nila madumi, pati yung rocks, isip nila madumi. But thank you for showing us na it can be useful pala in learning as well. So let's proceed with the open forum. May I call out on our speakers, Teacher Bea and Teacher Karen? Can you turn on your microphone and your video? So I'll start the last here with Teacher Bea. So Teacher Bea, there was a question here. Now, what age should loose parts be introduced to our kids? Baka it's they're after the safety na baka maisubo, baka raw makain. So what can you say about
Okay,
that?
so thank you for that. We have children in our school from 1 year old up. And in terms of making subo, 1 year olds don't really do that so much anymore, especially when they're walking. They are already able to explore the world outside of the oral sensation or the oral part of it. But also, if you give them rocks and twigs that are big enough for them to hold and they taste it and lick it, it's really okay. Nothing happens, and the child knows that they're really not going to chew the rock or bite the twig completely. And if they do, then they learn not to do it again next time. So we're not giving them anything poisonous, and it's nothing really dangerous for them. It's part of the exploration process, and children really still do learn a lot. Like, okay, you licked it. How does it taste? Did you like it? Will you do it again next time? So it's not something we have to fear, really. The children will learn on their own not to do it. Even when they touch it and they hear the sound of the rocks falling, it's not something that they will automatically put into their mouths. We haven't experienced even in our young toddlers age. And even if they do, it's just going to be a lick, and that's it. It's really, it's fine. So I think as adults, we really should relax. I mean, kahit sa kanin natin, minsan may bato. So it's really
That's true.
okay.
Okay, so next question is, what is your opinion? Are you in favor of online classes for students?
Hmm. Personally, we don't do online classes because we are not prepared for it. We're not capable. We don't have the connections and the equipment. But I understand that it does work for others, and there are other schools who are surviving on online classes. Now, the pandemic and education, it's not a one size fits all. There are many solutions for many people. So I can't say that no, online classes aren't going to work, because it's unfair for those it's working for. And it's just not for our school, because we are a more sensorial school. But for other schools, especially for the older kids, then yes, of course, please do what you can. The only thing that I ask of teachers and of parents is to limit the online classes you have in a day. You have to see how old your children are and what they are capable of sitting through. I've heard 5-year-olds sitting through 3-hour classes. And even as an adult, 2 hours, 3 hours, that's a long time. So I know there are a lot of things as teachers, as schools, that we want our children to learn, but we still have to put into consideration what they are capable of doing. Aside from the anxiety that they're home all day, they aren't seeing their friends, and it's really not the same making connections online. So we have to take that into consideration. Yes, online classes can be effective, especially if they're small groups, if they come in small bursts, and if they're not too lengthy. So if we can take those into consideration, make it age appropriate, and also train the teachers, of course, on how to effectively conduct an online class, then it will work for many students.
That's right. So I have a question here for Teacher Karine. Teacher Karine? All right.
Hi.
So what is the ideal age for introducing the activities that you just presented? So um, appropriate ba siya for younger, for 1 year old, for kids with special
Okay.
needs?
Since we're doing this for years na, so I noticed na even those who are 1 year olds and even those who are 9 years old, especially if they have special needs, these activities will surely work. So, yung mga 1 year old, talagang mas exploring sila. And then we try to incorporate the lessons more on the older age, like fours and fives. So they're still playing, but they're getting to learn the lesson through a creative way. like they're playing. So it looks like na nag-aaral sila pero hindi sila aware. Kasi they're enjoying, they're playing. So I think for me kahit anong age naman siya kasi even us teachers when we're presented with materials like this, we also explore it muna. So we level ourselves with the children so we can teach them better strategies like this. So yun po.
Thank you, Teacher Karen. I have another question here that came from Facebook. Teacher Bea, how do you actually encourage more older kids to play outdoors when they're busy with their gadgets? They'd rather stay inside with their
You take it
gadgets.
away. The only way to do it, you take their gadgets away, you turn the Wi-Fi off, and you say, time to go outside. Because once they're outside, then you're going to have a problem. Teacher Bea, how can I bring my child back inside the house? Ayaw po kumain, ayaw maligo, gusto lang maglaro sa labas. And I'm sure those were the complaints of our parents before when we were all growing up. So when you introduce a child, when you let your child the opportunity to do something they love, to see that it's fun, then you're going to have a hard time taking them away from that. And the screens are really, even as adults, we really get fixated on them. They have masterfully made it in such a way that they engage us. Before we know it, it's been 3, 4, 5 hours, we're just staring at the screen. And the only way to break away from that is to take it away. As adults, if we want to focus on our children, if we want to focus on our work, we have to turn off our phones, get off Facebook, or do other things so that we can focus. And it's the same for children. And they're not, hindi po yan kusa, hindi nila ibababa yan para they do something else. You have to be the ones to take it away. That's it.
That's true. It's as easy as that. Even us adults nahihirapan tayo with controlling our screen time. What more the kids, diba? They usually copy what adults do. So another question, Teacher Bea, is how about those areas who don't have outdoor space to play? What are other or other activities that children can do, lalo na ngayon na bawal lumabas because of the pandemic?
Yeah, so we do have a lot of students who don't have kahit a terrace man lang. And you can still plant inside your house. You can still have water play or bring in a small pot of soil and have some plants. Uso po ngayon ang planting. So even if you're just in a room, you can still have nature. We've had kits where ang theme is air. So you just open the window, you will get air, fly a kite, feel the sun. There's so many things you can still do inside the home. It's still important, really, the kids need to feel that soil, that sand, those rocks, so that they don't just always feel plastic and smooth things. And that's when the nature deficit disorder comes into play. When they do go outside, when the world opens again, pag lumabas na po kayo, mag-beach po kayo, mag-garden po kayo, or mag-park, hindi na po sila aapak sa grass or sa sand. They will be scared of the outside. So we have to kahit papano bring some of the outside in para we don't shock them too much when we take them out again.
Yes, that's right. That's why the Maya Forest Preschool Bridge program has rocks, twigs inside their kits, so kids at home can still play with nature even if they're indoors. Teacher Karen, we have a question here. Actually, Teacher Karen, the questions for you are more on more activities. What other activities do you have there? So more on STEM activities.
Forest.
So here, marami kasing activities na pwede magawa. Like kids, they can make their own tanga. You don't need to tell them na you have to make this one. So just give them rocks. Then maybe they can start building it, like stacking them together. So usually we teach also forest skills. So this is also a part of their forest skills that we check every year. So it's like this, stacking stones. Actually, there are a lot. What else? Sometimes we let the child make boats using the sticks. So we tie them together and then see if they can float, or they can do racing when they're with their classmates or with their siblings. They can do racing using the twigs. And what else? Sometimes the seeds can be used in art activities, like you can paint using this one. So we don't limit ourselves with paintbrushes with our fingers. So we can actually make paintbrushes using the leaves and the sticks. Just tie them together and it will become a paintbrush. So there are endless uh, types of activities we can use with these materials. So I think we have short time kasi that's why
You can
I
follow us
can
on Maya Forest School Manila on Facebook. We share a lot of our activities on there as well.
Yeah. Speaking of Facebook, Teacher Bea, can you uh, someone asked if you can comment on how much is schoolwork or tasks for adolescents? How much work ba dapat? Ano ba yung limit with them?
DepEd released a memorandum on how many hours a child should spend by age in a day. So, for kinder, ideally, it's supposed to be, for example, if you were going to school, it's supposed to be 15 minutes of homework a week. But now it's, I think, at 1.5 to 2 hours of online class a day, something like that. So there's a chart that the DepEd has released, and it just follows the American Pediatric Association chart on appropriate number of hours. But really, we should do away with these charts and just think about ourselves. Put your position in your child's. Put yourself in your child's shoes. 6 subjects a day. If you had to go through 6 Zoom meetings a day, you're 12 years old. There are other things you also want to do. How would you feel? So I think that's really what we have to think about instead of just looking at charts and what's appropriate and what isn't. It's how do your students feel? How do your children feel in front of the screens at that length, whatever length you're giving them? So you spot, are they tired? Are they not? Maybe there's a recorded video they can watch later on when they're feeling better. They need breaks. They need to stand up and move around. So just be more aware of that, really.
So if that's the question, if how much work should be given to the kids, how much naman ang outdoor time? Should they do it in the morning and the afternoon? What do you suggest?
So ideally, outdoor time is 3 to 4 hours a day. That's the amount of vitamin D you can get, your gross motor skills moving, your children away from screens, you know, and it's at your prime time. Syempre, in our country, mainit. But now, lately, when it's rainy, by all means, make your children play outdoors when it's raining. Ano ba naman yung maligo lang sila after? And then, usually 3:30 p.m. onwards, it's nice to play outside. There's a nice breeze. And then before 9 a.m. is also a nice time to play. But whatever fits into your routine. Get your children if you have a garahe, a terrace, a little space, even out on the street if you're living in an enclosed subdivision or not too busy. It's fine. Have them chalk. They can write on the floor, play outside, even just sit under a tree or with the plants. That is already okay. It's a change of environment. It gives them peace, and they can be alone with their thoughts as well.
So when playing outdoors, how do you differentiate providing guidance and giving instructions in outdoor play? So saan yung limit ng parents or teachers?
Uh, our children receive instructions all day long. Maligo ka na, kumain ka na, matulog ka na. Why do we have to also give instructions to their play? So what we're going to tell them what to draw, we're going to tell them how to run, how fast, how long, we're going to tell them what to climb. I mean, we have to just really relax because children were born to play. We don't need to tell them to do anything. Let them initiate the game. Mama, you can introduce tumbang preso or hopscotch or Chinese garter or agawan base, all these things that they don't do now. You can introduce it to them, and if they don't want to play, they'll find something else to do. My daughter likes to just have a basket and go around and collect whatever, stones, ganyan. And for her, she's cooking, she's in the market, she's selling, she's going to create now a fairy garden, all these things. So I don't have to do anything, and we don't have to do anything as adults. We're there to just add to the conversation. Mama, I'm going to the market. Oh, really? What are you going to buy? I'm not going to be saying like, oh, you're not going to the market. Let's go to somewhere else instead. So parang we don't take over their play. We just play with them or alongside and just encourage whatever they're doing.
Okay, thank you. Teacher Karen, so your activities that you presented a while ago, like if we're basing it from what Teacher Bea said, hayaan lang the kids. I mean, they will learn those skills then when they're doing the activities. Is that right?
Yun
Or
nga,
they're playing?
kahit bigyan mo lang sila ng something, may gagawin na sila eh. So, we don't need to instruct them to do anything. Like, siguro, if lesson heavy, pwede siguro, pero we still incorporate play. Like, just get the letter A, just get the letter B. So, we're still using the materials, but they're playing. They're still learning. So, yun, ano pa ba? Hindi naman kailangan na lahat sinasabi, like Teacher Bea said. Kasi talagang children have their own minds. May mga naiisip sila na sometimes, oo nga, pwede pala. So we don't limit them in doing these activities. So we just, yun nga, sabi ni Teacher Bea, just provide them with the materials and may magagawa silang output dyan. So it's part of their creativity, they're learning, they're practicing, they're softening their finger muscles, yun.
How about Teacher Karen, if we discussed, you presented activities that's for preschool. What about the older ones? 7, 8, 9, 10, teenagers. How do we bring nature to them?
For those age kasi medyo mas gross motor na sila. Medyo mas moving. They like doing more big muscle incorporated activities. So yun, pwede siguro like they investigate, they can do experiments, medyo deeper concept na experiments. They can also make their own products using these materials. So we let them invent, we let them create other materials, and they can also present it with the same age as they are.
That's right. So with older kids, mas mahirap lang yung skills. So more on experimenting, creating, inferring or making a report out of it, or mayroong maraming ways to change it up. So Teacher Bea, how about introducing them to animals? Will it be safe or not?
Of course. um, in school, we do invite people who own animals or have animal businesses to come introduce the animals to the children. You know, as I said, fear is learned. So when we expose the children to the animals, then the fear disappears, or just whatever is in their mind, imagination about how sharp a snake's fangs are and all these things. They can see in real life, they can touch, they can see that if they just take care of the animals, then these animals aren't going to hurt them as well. But of course, you know, I mean, you have to have somebody knowledgeable with animals. There are so many studies about how pets are good for children and all of that. But you also have to make sure that you do the caring part of it. That somebody is teaching them how to care, how to be responsible for animals. And so we don't just get any animal off the street. As I said, we have a kind of risk for the children, but they trust that we're putting them in a situation that, you know, is safe naman for them. So just animals, of course, you know, there's so many things you can learn, just within reason.
And
That's
to add
right.
to that, Teacher She,
Yeah, go ahead.
mapapansin mo kasi na if you present kids with pictures lang ng animals, they get bored. Kasi nakikita na nila sa TV, nakikita na nila sa picture, so it's fun if they get to experience it. Natatouch nila, napepet nila. So So medyo different yung same concept yung tinuturo pero different effect sa bata pag mismong nahahawakan and na-experience nila.
That's right. That's right. Every year, I think we try almost every year to invite um, some unusual animals
Petting
to
zoo.
come to our school. Yeah, petting zoos to come to our school. And usually, yung parents, yung mga yayas, yung natatakot when their kids or their alagas touch the snakes or the lizards, sila yung natatakot. Pero yung kids, tuwang-tuwa. Kasi it's an animal, di ba? Wala naman pong masama na hawakan sila. And the adults are there, teachers are there. We make sure that everything's safe na wala pong masasaktan. So it's okay. Another question, Teacher Bea, is what is rough and tumble play that you were talking about a while ago?
Rough and tumble play, if may kapatid po kayo, I'm sure you have experienced rough and tumble play. And in the classroom, this happens a lot when their kids are pretending to be robots or have swords. They're wrestling for whatever reason. If it's all in good jest, syempre, as parents and as teachers, we sort of just let it be until it gets too rough. Medyo they're hitting on purpose na. But if it's like sword fights or whatever, kids are running may bases pa sila, we just let it be because it's really, navigating socially, who's a leader, following rules, still having concern, and of course, imaginative play pa din. So rough and tumble play is really being rough and tumbling, but um, with no anger involved.
Ano lang, parang wrestling lang na friends, ng friends. So, Teacher Bea, there's another question, how to encourage children even if it was creative, but the child can demonstrate or hindi siya participative. So, what do you suggest they do?
Well, as teacher Karine mentioned, this is even for children with special needs. There are a lot of them who initially aren't participative, especially when it comes to the sensory part. But what we do is we continuously introduce them over and over again. And of course, we adjust to their level. So ano po kaya ng bata, that's where you begin. You don't, of course, give them an advanced activity. For example, the hat and the bug. If hindi pa nila kaya, they really won't be participative. But if it's something they can do, like the tongs with the colors in the soil, or even without the tongs, just let them put their hands in the soil. Those are levels where they can all begin their participation and then spark their curiosity, see that it's something they can do, something they're interested in.
And as adults din, we try na ipakita sa kanila na okay lang madumihan. We can wash hands after. Because pag nakikita, usually ng mga SPED kids, na you're doing it, there's nothing wrong in doing it. Nagbe-build din sila ng trust sa'yo na parang, it's okay to touch, it's okay to get dirty, we can wash hands after. So medyo matagal lang and step by step talaga siya. But we don't force kids not to like it immediately.
That's right, that's right. So another question is how about those who are living in the slums? So it's very challenging for our social workers, some of the teachers to reach out those who are in the slums. So what do you suggest?
Those in the slums, they already have a lot of loose parts. So there pa lang, madami na po kayong magagawa. And when you go through, um, Maya Forest isn't near the slums, but we do see a lot. Those who live by the Riles, you heard the train a while ago. So we do see a lot of the kids living there. And they have been able to make so many things, trampolines, slides, seesaws out of the loose parts they have lying around or from junk shops. And that in itself is enough. Their homes are small and crowded and hot, and so the kids are always outside. And when they create things out of all the loose parts they see, all the junk they see on the street, that's something they're proud of. And you can see them having fun. They live in the slums, they don't have much, but you still see a lot of these kids having a lot of fun on the side of the road with their makeshift basketball courts made out of whatever materials they find. and that is already learning. That's a lot of science and physics and engineering involved. That's a lot of creating involved, and it's something they're proud of. And it keeps them, they're on the streets, but it keeps them away from drugs and the problems that they have at home. So um, we usually see their creations on the side of the road, and you see how good they are, how much potential they have, and it's really nice actually when you see them playing with what they make when you're passing through.
That's right. So any recommendations for house parents who work in different residential facilities? So I think what she's asking is for those living in condominiums, limited space, what do you recommend?
So some condominiums do have like common areas, which I think now during the pandemic you have to schedule. But even if you're, first of all, there are also places you can go, which is safe. For example, in the cemetery, there are people, kids running around, and they make it a park. You can schedule these things at times when it's okay to go out, when there aren't too many people. But if you can't, you can still have that play at home. So what we suggest for our students who live in condominiums is like a mega box, a plastic box, and you can have the sensory play, the nature play inside that box. So it's contained, your dirt, your mess is contained inside the plastic box. You can seal it so that you can use it anytime you want. The child knows where to keep it. So the soil we make into mud, and the kids have a lot of fun that way. At the same time, it's still clean. So if you're out driving by, just get some soil and bring it home, or buy a potted plant. And there's so many possibilities, really. You know, even in the market, they sell pine cones and shells in the like palenque. So you can find all these things um, around you. You just have to think, be creative also.
Teacher, but how about those children in residential facilities, those living in shelters? How about them? What can the social worker do to engage them in nature?
I'm assuming there is no outdoors in this residential. There are no outdoors
Maybe it's just limited.
like the building.
Mm.
Anything, even if it's just cement, and they're playing outside together. What's nice, I guess, the positive is that they're together. The kids are together in these residential centers. So they have each other to play with. If they have space, if it's covered or not, when they can play together, then that's already outdoor play, considered outdoor play. You know, you can initiate by having them have a game, but at the end of the day, they're going to have their own games and make their own games. And I don't, it doesn't have to really be nature, like bring soil for them to play with. But if they're outdoors and moving, that's already positive for them. So if you don't have the soil for them, if you cannot have a planting activity for them, you can read them stories which, you know, have trees involved, all these things. It's still a lot. There's still a lot we can do for these children. But it's nice that they're together, they can play together.
For teacher Karen, do you recommend introducing activities that touch different skills? So for example, in one activity, may math na, may STEM na. What do you suggest?
Normally, gano'n naman talaga. Like, for one activity, it involves a lot. Especially fine motor skills. Kasi hindi ka naman makakahawak din ng materials, manipulate ng objects kung weak yung fine motor skills mo. So, usually math, kanina nung ginawa natin, like, yung sa sticks, you're doing fine motor skills, merong concept ng comparing lens. Yung sa math din kanina na counters, nagkakaroon ng inferences, so parang science din siya. Or logic, like, sa nakikita pa lang nung bata, which has more, which has less. So, medyo marami talaga. Usually, pag letters, aside from just tracing the letters, walk around the house or walk around outside and see ants begin with letter A. So you can learn more about ants while you're learning letter A. So that's how we do the activities normally here in school.
And um, what do you think? Okay lang ba if parents join during outdoor play, or do you think they should just monitor them?
Minsan may mga kids kasi na they get motivated when they see adults enjoying as well. Pero for some kids na they like playing with their friends na without adults, you can just watch them. For sure, may play naman silang magagawa kahit ano nga. Sabi nga ni Teacher Bea, kahit ano pang bigay mo sa kanila, makakapaglaro sila dyan. So yun, hindi kailangang tignan lagi. Pero if you feel na your child is not motivated, us adults can model how to do some activities, how to climb. Kasi pag nakikita nilang engaged ka din, parang mas na-excite silang sumali. So yun yung mga napapansin namin mostly sa kids.
Just to add, if you're going to play outside with your child, you have to be, or play in general with your child, you have to be 100% present. Because if you're going to half-heartedly play but multitask, do a chore, tapos may cellphone ka pa, or may niluluto ka pa, to be blunt, mababad trip lang din yung bata eh. So, if you're going to play, then you play. And if you're not going to play, then you can just, keep an eye out to make sure lang na okay lang siya.
That's right. So another question here is, I'm working for the blind girls, and it's a just comment, and then she asked a question. I'm working for the blind girls and with special children. I find this very interesting. We are in a residential facility, and sometimes it's exhausting for them to always be together. What activities can you suggest for them?
Again,
Those
sorry.
indoor.
I'm thinking in a...
In a residential facility, and sometimes it's exhausting for them to always be together. What activities can you suggest for them?
Are these the blind?
Yeah, blind girls and special kids.
So when you're out in nature, if you have an outdoor space, or even if you don't, when kids have alone time and they're really alone with their thoughts, you can give them maybe a question they can think about. For example, whatever your topic is for that day, and then they can go to their separate areas and think about, your task, the task that you gave them. So when they're working alone, of course, they are deeper with their thoughts, and you don't always have to keep them together, syempre. And children also have to learn how to work on their own. So there are lots of things you can still do. Separate them into small groups or individual tasks. Have them sorry, I don't know your activities, what you do in the residential centers, but I'm sure you can come up with activities for them individually or to do partner, so that they can you can have a break more than the kids.
There's another question here. Now, what age should a gadget be introduced? Because they use it then now to teach concepts like counting or singing or colors. What age?
Okay.
Medyo, sensitive topic.
May ano ba dyan? May somebody working ba dyan for a gadget company? Joke. Ideally, 5 and up, sana, as much as possible. Because you really have to teach verbal skills, social skills, fine motor, gross motor skills before concepts, before counting and literacy and all these things. There are so many other more important skills the children have to tackle. So there is this book, Everything I Need to Know, I Learned in Kindergarten, and that's basically it. We have to think that there is other learning aside from just counting and reading. And even then, you can still have counting and reading with your children without the gadgets. So yes, I know, one, it's tempting. Two, you feel productive because you're teaching children all these things. But there are so many more important skills that children need to learn before they go onto the gadgets. Now, ideally, 0 gadgets before 2 years old. The flashing of the light, their immature brains, their attention span, their verbal skills, all these things are before 2 years old. And then after that, if you want, I know parents use it 30 minutes to yourself, 15 minutes to yourself, then you can have them watch uh, something. But ideally, nothing too fast or too flashy, too colorful with bright lights. And then 5 and up, according to the physicians and all these, 1 hour a day is okay. So there's so many issues when it comes to gadgets. Are you buying your children their own gadgets? Like the children 5 years old below really need their own personally to call them it their own, because how can you take it away otherwise if it's theirs? So there, like, not to ano, but before 2 years old below, sana 0 minutes a day. Before 2 to 5, very few, 15, 30 minutes a day. 5 and up, you can have an hour and up a day. But if you don't need it naman talaga, then as much as possible, don't na lang introduce. Because it's really hard to take away. I mean, as adults, it's hard to take it away from us. So what more from a child who becomes very dependent on what we give them.
Okay, I think we have time for like a couple more questions na lang. So there's a question here that I'm a social worker working with children with cancer. They are immunocompromised. What outdoor activities can be done for them, especially with the risks?
If you cannot take them out, don't take them
Don't take
out.
them out. Yeah.
That's why we bring nature indoors. Uh, yeah, we've been showing you all day, all morning, different activities you can do if they can't touch the soil, if it's too much for them. There are other sensory items you can use. Cotton and water, cornstarch, flour, sensory beads. There are so many experiments. You can make your own non-toxic Play-Doh or oobleck, it's called, homemade slime, water beads, they're called Orbeez. All these things are non-toxic also if your children can't have the dust or for whatever reason you have. There are other ways to have that sensory play that's still engaging for children.
And another one, how do you assess the risk that you allow the children to experience? Like in risky play, how much risk do you allow the child to be exposed to?
So um, you observe lang first as you observe. Is there anything sharp, anything exposed, broken glass, what's it called, nails, all these things. Those are obvious that you take out. Open fire, obviously you take it out. But if, for example, there's a table that he can run up, climb up and jump off, that's a low level risk. So just think and observe, step back, look at the area, see what's safe, and then you can tell your child, okay, you can go up to here, and then beyond that, wag na, because I cannot see you anymore, or we don't know what's there. So set boundaries, and then just identify what you think. For example, we won't let them play under a coconut tree, but a mango tree would be okay if a coconut drops. So just medyo common sense looking lang on what real dangers are and what perceived dangers are.
Okay. Thank you very much. We have more questions, but we don't have time anymore. So thank you, Teacher Karine. Thank you, Teacher Bea, for joining us. And thank you for all the wonderful attendees here on Zoom and on Facebook.